Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome very much to our third virtual meetup in this format. I'm sure some of you are used to the format by now if you've been tuning in with us regularly. If not, welcome to our virtual meetup. We do want to try and make this interactive, so use the chat feature. If you're on YouTube, you'll see YouTube live chat. And just say hello, let us know where you are, where you're from, and then any questions that you have throughout, just type those in the chat feature and we'll put those to our speakers and really want to create a conversation going throughout. So please say hello and we'll write back and be a part of the conversation, because that's the real benefit to having these live events, is that we can chat and get to know each other as well. And then also, so with our events, we've been running virtual breakout sessions on Zoom. So details when you signed up, you will have received the link and the password. So after the talks are done, join us on Zoom. That's a chance to put your microphone and your cameras on, and depending how many we get, we can split into different rooms and just have a chat with each other. And both of our speakers today, Marion and Tom, will both be free on Zoom as well, so you can kind of have an informal chat there afterwards. And that part's not recorded, that's just for us to talk to each other and check in and see how we're doing, because that's something that's really missing from some of these virtual events, is all that kind of corridor chat and talking to each other over beers and drinks and different things. So we wanted to kick off today. I'm pleased that Naveed, who started mobile UX probably about 5 years ago now, he's free to talk to us briefly about UX Academy and some of the areas that they're doing there. So I'm just going to bring Naveed into the stream, and then I'll bring up your first slide with students from top companies. Welcome, Naveed.
Great, thank you, Brett. And yeah, welcome everyone to our, I think it's our third or fourth online meetup. Yeah, so we obviously we run Mobile UX London, and you guys are partaking in this online event. But we also run UX training. Primarily, it was obviously in person in London. We've moved to online, and we've started to deliver a beginner UX course. And we've about to start a conversational design course starting at the end of the month. And I just wanted to give you a little introduction into UX Academy. Firstly, you can see we've been around for a few years, and we've taught some students from great companies. And as part of the course that we run, every student is involved in working on a project, so they're practical courses, and you get to work with real companies as well, depending on the course. The courses run between 6 and 8 weeks long, so you get to work on your project during that time. We have some very experienced teachers, which you can learn more about on our website, myuxacademy.com. And the class sizes are very small, so you get to work very individually with the teachers. You get to work in small teams to really improve your skills, whether it's the UX design course you take or the conversational design course. And yeah, as we've moved online, we use a number of different tools to make sure your online learning experience is that you can get the full value from it. So we communicate and collaborate on Slack. We share our materials with Google Drive, and we do Zoom rooms, which you'll also use today. And then we use different tools depending on the course that's being delivered. So for the Voice of Conversational Design or Voice Design course, we use VoiceFlow. InVision as well for a bit of prototyping, mocking up, and Miro is a whiteboard tool which we use as part of the team collaboration projects. And this is just an example of a project that you could work on as part of the conversational design course. So in this case, obviously, it's a hypothetical project, but we try to make it as real world as possible. And the idea is at the end of the course, you will build or you would have built a skill for Alexa. We use Alexa because it's the most popular product out there. But bear in mind, the teaching gives you an understanding of building a voice skill across all popular devices. And finally, we so our courses are usually £950, but we have a special discount for you guys today. So the conversational design course is starting at the end of the month. We'll share some details after the meetup, so you have all the information, or you can check out myuxacademy.com. But as part of this course, we're offering you a 25% discount. You can use the code workshop25, and obviously you can enroll at myuxacademy.com/enroll, or go to the conversational design course. So thanks for your time, and I'll pass it back over to you, Brett. Thanks, Brett.
Awesome. Thanks very much, Naveed. We've also included, so on YouTube, there's a link just further below where you can go to myuxacademy.com and check out some of the fantastic courses. They're doing evening courses. We've moved virtually as well. So if you're interested in either beginner or intermediate UX or voice design, there's also a new product design course coming out. So if you're interested in meeting other people and learning from some great tutors, then definitely check out those courses. So moving on to today, we're pleased we've got two speakers, so we've got quite a bit to get through. And today we really wanted to focus on kind of the well-being side and acknowledging kind of how difficult things are. I mean, it's great we've got this technology and these channels, and I think we're extremely blessed with where we are and just how much tech that we've got. But it's there's a lot to get around, and navigating the new normal and the ways that we're working together. And inevitably, there's different frustrations. People working from home have different setups, different things that are going on. And we wanted to invite. I'm really pleased to have Marion speaking because she's managing teams and she knows kind of those frustrations, and to share some top tips around ways to keep people motivated, best practices that she's learned along the way whilst managing everybody working from home and having a remote workforce, and just kind of how to keep us going and keep us all motivated. So I'm just going to bring Marion in for a little bit and we'll have a chat before we get over to your deck. But how are you doing, Marion? Thanks so much for joining us today.
Hey, Brett. Yeah, no, good, very good. I'm good, thanks. How are you? This is really the first question we ask now in our kind of conference calls or meetings. It's how are you and how are you doing?
Yeah, definitely.
So it became so much more personal, the whole thing. I mean, you're seeing me in my house.
I know, absolutely. I remember when we was planning these, I was kind of, do I really have to put the camera on in my bedroom? But that has become the new normal now. We're just used to it. We don't even think at the beginning. It's kind of, I don't want to share all of them, but that's just what we do and how we keep going. So yeah, exactly. I think it's good. But no, doing really well. I think, things are okay. Hopefully there's loads of gardening stuff going on in the background, but I think you can't hear through the headphones. So hopefully we won't get too distracted. But yeah, no, really, really great that you're joining us. And then did you want to pop up your screen share? If you did go on to, let me stop.
Yeah, I'll do maybe in a minute. Yeah, I think I'll do it in a second. I mean, it's just one slide. It's just some kind of collage on stuff that are happening at the office and across what we do.
Nice. I know you've got pictures you've got ready to share with us in a bit.
Yeah, I'll share some stuff. Yeah. So hi everyone. And by the way, talking about the new normal, my son might just pop up from the door there. We'll see how it goes. Yeah, no, I mean, really extraordinary times where we're living, and it's really hard to be, a citizen. It's really hard to be an employee, and it's really hard to be, in my case, a mom and a full-time working employee. And at the same time, I'm a manager, so I'm managing a team at the studio. In the studio, we are part of a bigger side of Accenture, and we are part of Accenture Technology, which is about 6,000 people in the UKI only. So this is massive. And we do a lot of stuff. So across all these different levels of belonging. And I wanted to share some of the stuff we're doing, and hopefully this can help you. This can give you some ideas. And I think what I like the most is that it's really, test and learn approach, really kind of applied. We usually do that as kind of designers, but this is really test and learn as managers now. So we're trying things. Some things stick, some things don't stick, and we improve them, or we change them, or we don't do them anymore. Stuff that I think first and foremost as a manager during this kind of lockdown and this kind of incredible time we're living is our role as managers is to manage people's well-being, our people well-being, and to manage the stress and the anxiety level. So we do have our own, and we do need to protect our people. And I think this is a sense that it's really echoed from the very top of Accenture and Accenture technology, and that's really when you need the most, really, to hear that. So we've done a lot of stuff in Accenture and at the Liquid Studio. I'm going to talk more about the Liquid Studio and kind of Accenture technology, I guess. In order to just think about managing, how do you manage people anxiety and stress level? And first, I think as a designer, when you work, you always think about empathy, being empathetic to your target audience. I think here as a manager, you really need to think about the people. You really need to remember that, it's not just an employee, a bit about being employee anymore. So stuff like, for instance, scheduling meetings, you might change. In the past, we used to cram the lunch times with back-to-back meetings. Mm. Really, the lunch times, probably time for the family. I mean, as a mom, I know it's a bad day today, they're eating downstairs, but these are the little things that you need to keep in mind. There's a lot of people who are moms and dads at home. So no meetings at lunchtime, so trying to free up the Friday. We do a lot of workshops. So all these workshops are now to be remote, and you do need to work out also the timings of those workshops. You can't just expect people to stay an hour, a full day, even an hour is quite strange. So we're doing a lot of, everything's remote. We do a lot of, obviously, video calls. We do a lot of workshop remote, and we're using Mural. We've got an Accenture license with Mural, so because for us, we've got a lot of the GDPR and also all the information about our clients. It's very important that, so this is one of the tools we use at the studio. We use Mural. I think in terms of managing people's anxiety and stress, we're told to try to stick to the routine as much as possible. So we try to keep our kind of daily stand-up, these kind of things. But obviously now they changed. They're a bit like with a twist, because now instead of everybody sitting around the table, we're all sitting at home, and we're all having maybe a cup of tea, or sometimes we go for a walk while we on the phone. Everything has gone virtual. Like we used to have yoga teacher coming in. We now have virtual yoga classes. We are doing a hackathon at the end of I think next week. There's a 2-day hackathon with AWS. We're doing this remotely. All the mentors and all that doing this mentally. I think what it teaches us is really that we need to be more human than ever. And I think as being part of a big organization, but working in technology, I think this is something that we need to apply in our work and now at kind of managing our teams. Stuff that I wanted to give some ideas about how we kind of, maintain the sense of belonging quickly. So we usually have team events, right? We now can't have team events. So stuff that we've been doing is the budget allocated to this. We've been doing some Uber Eats vouchers. Some teams in Accenture Technology have done that. We also sending some care box with some little gifts here and there. At the studio, we've done branding. I'm going to start sharing. I'll just have one slide I want to share to just bring to life a bit what I'm saying. So we're doing some branding that we sent to people's home. Again, a bit of a challenge with GDPR, but we managed. There's a much more connectivity between the people across Accenture and the very top leadership. So you see at the very center of this slide, we've got the CEO, Julie Sweet, who did a broadcast yesterday. Very human, very empathetic, and really talking to us about the future and what's happening. Really uplifting messages. And we've got Zara, who's our lead in technology UKI, doing a broadcast from our guest room as well.
Oh, nice. Sorry, Marion, to butt in. I haven't got your screen up yet. If you go on to, I don't know if there's anything on your side. If you go on to share screen, if there's just like an OK button or something we can hit.
Can you see now?
I think.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, I'm going to add you in. No worries. Yeah, you don't know because you're talking. You know. Here we go. We're there. Yeah. We've got some context. Go for it.
I think what's also in terms of this improving the sense of strengthening the sense of belonging. What you do also is now it's not just you as an organization and your employee as individuals. Is your employees are part of families and they have household and they have kids and they have flatmates. So it's about also doing activities that are inclusive. And here at the bottom, for instance, you see my son. We were doing a kids quiz that was organized by the Accent on Family team, who's part of Accenture, looking at family matters. There's lots of stuff that are organized. We've got a fantastic also community for mental health, the Mental Health Allies. They broadcast, they've invited some, people on topics like grief or financial difficulties, all this stuff that it's human and people are going to need help and guidance and support. So we there's a few things as well that we've done. There's done some virtual heat session. There's a whole Virgin 22 Pulse. The Pulse Global Challenge. I don't know if you heard of it. It's like a step thing, and we all as a team we registered, and so it's a matter of even doing the steps in the house. You got 3 floors, so going back and forth. And I guess we can do all of these nice things, but obviously at the end of the day we are business, and we need to maintain people's job. And Accenture have been really tremendous in doing this and helping also our contractors, but third parties. But as the big question is how, in these incredible circumstances, can you, be very human and at the same time, keep pushing and keep being performant as a business. And it's a learning curve. We try lots of things. Obviously, technology has helped a lot. We've managed to enroll people on Teams and working remotely really, really fast. And we helped clients doing this too. Remote collaboration, video calls. I think in terms of operations, we try to be really clean as well. And can we organize ourselves better? Can we plan better? Type of things like holidays or our sales pipeline, project pipeline, all that stuff. It's an opportunity also to if you got the opportunity, just stop and reflect and strategize a bit. Think about what you're going to do when everything's over, when we're back to normal. If that's going to be the case, it's going to be granular for sure, and a kind of a curb, but we will get there. And so it's about maintaining people healthy, but also business healthy. So to finish, maybe because of time, the stuff that we are really keen as managers is to make sure that people keep on learning and keep on growing. So this is an opportunity if there's some time to train. So train physically, like these guys on the picture, but get your certification. So there's in technology, you got lots of people who have the opportunity to be AWS certified. There's loads of certification out there, and that is part of their business and part of what we do. So we've done this, and the business is really supportive. Encouraging trainings, lots of online classes. We got UX Academy, which is brilliant. And as designers, I would say just also go back to analog. Why not? There's a lot of technology around, but what's nice is also to for a second to stop being connected with just technology and just recenter. Take a good old pencil and paper and learn again how to draw. There was this fantastic program on BBC4 the other night about live drawing, and it was 2 hours of live drawing. So thought it was really nice. So yeah, quite a lot of stuff in 10 minutes.
there's so many different things. I think that's the big thing, is we've had to adapt quite a lot and quite significantly. And it's clunky. I think we're sort of used to a set order and a set structure and a way of doing things. And I just wanted to touch a bit more on the kind of more human side, because I wondered, as a manager, do you feel you feel closer to your teams because you've found out more? Because I think normally we have our work self and our home self, and you get dressed, you go to the office, and you leave all that stuff behind. But obviously now we're in our rooms, we're at home, we're learning all these things, the kids, cats, dogs, pets, like all the stuff. So do you feel kind of closer in a way?
So you're absolutely right. I think it depends about how close you were in the first place. So the studio that we created 3 years ago, the Liquid Studio, we all kind of, relatively young people and, designers, kind of engineers. We wear t-shirts. We're pretty, relaxed anyway. And we're quite, some people are even working together and they're housemates. So, there is already this closeness. But can see the global, in the biggest size of Accenture, our studio, totally like, you see people in t-shirts, you've never knew they had t-shirts, and yes, there's the kids coming in and you see inside the house and make all sorts of assumptions, and it's quite like an investigation. So good. But there's a lot of calls. There's a lot of one-to-one calls to replace the physical kind of interactivity. And that's kind of sometimes a bit cripple the days. So you try to still be quite efficient, and there's a lot to go through.
Yeah, brilliant. I just say, so anyone who wants to ask a question to Marion, if you just want to pop that in the chat, so you can just type and ask anything. So we'll have Marion for a couple more minutes, and she'll be around on the Zoom as well. So if you prefer just to ask her directly, you can do. And I just wanted to ask kind of around what the biggest challenge. I mean, you touched on the phone calls and the bits, but what would you say is the real most difficult thing, and what you've learned along the way? Would you say it is the time? Are we trying to fit a lot more in than just all the meeting? Because normally you can just look over your desk, right, and you can just see someone and say, oh, how is this kind of informality, and now you have to kind of put that in on every, the day is just not long enough, I think.
I think there's this, and there's the fact that it seems to be blurred now, the lines, the limits between, this is work and this is not work, because you work at home every day. So you try to be flexible. You can start very early and then you finish maybe a bit earlier or not. And we say like first day is maybe now the new hump day, because, we kind of tend to work at weekends now. So I think managing time is a tough one. Definitely. I guess the other thing I wanted to mention is also the uncertainties. You try to plan, you try to be in control, and it's quite difficult for everyone at every level. Trying to, as a manager, to plan for your business, to plan for your studio and your people and your projects. And looks like even the government doesn't quite know 2 weeks in advance. So we know until June, and then we'll figure it out.
Yeah, of course, it's a really changing situation. I think any businesses, it's so hard. And I know Tom's coming on in a bit, and we were chatting, and we were just saying that each time there's a new phase or a new announcement made, it's actually quite difficult to kind of take in what's right. And there's kind of this sort, you kind of get used to it, and then it's kind of, am I relearning? Am I doing? No, it's the same. It's a muddling And I personally, I find that quite difficult as well, because I love structure and some of the routines and the order, but everything's kind of a bit out of whack. So I kind of don't really know what's right or what's wrong anymore. But I think we're finding our way through.
At least we're safe.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we're
Yeah, that's
healthy.
a really
Yeah,
that's a really important point. We had one question come in, which I'm just going to pop up on the screen, from Maria. So she said that she's also having a lot of calls, which is disrupting her day, and she just wonders if the type of work that you do at Liquid Studio, if that's changed, the nature of the work itself, or are you still, we chatted before, you've still kind of got client, and the work is still kind of maybe scaled back in a certain way.
Yeah, I mean, our clients are still expecting us to be, full steam. So definitely, I think it's what I was saying. I guess we don't do the 9 to 5 anymore. I mean, if we were doing it before, we're definitely not doing it anymore now. Our designers, they don't have this problem, right? Because they have one project and they have a focus. As a manager, so Maria, I don't know if you're a manager or more like a designer. As a manager, you have to look at projects, but you have to go also at management, at all these transversal operation-related activities. I mean, there's loads of guides and ideas online about how you can try to focus more. I mean, you can block your calendar and just say you do not take any calls in the afternoon. So that allows for the deep work. But I totally feel that I find it difficult to reach deep and to reach the flow for deep work. And that's key for performance and really to be able to create and to have time to really do something in a focused way. So it's hard.
Absolutely.
I think it's a hygiene thing. You need to be quite roulette. Yeah, you need to push back and say, well, actually, let's move this meeting to that because this is my focus time.
Yeah, absolutely. I think being at home, there's quite a, we're used to home being the place where we relax and the place we switch off and we get away from everything and we leave the pressures of work and the things behind. And now, mentally we're trying to take that all, and, it's invasive, it's in a personal space, but also that sort of mental resilience around, trying to get into deep work. You need that, there's something about space, isn't there, when you go to a separate space, when you go to an office, when you go to, and I know being at the Liquid Studio, you designed that space like so beautifully to enable all of these creative ideas and projects, and now you kind of got the creative inspirations of your room. So that's a challenge in itself, isn't it, the creative inspiration?
Yeah, I was about to say that's a good one. I was thinking about the same, about the room, try to, if you got the luxury of having different rooms, try to work in one room, and then this is just where work happens, so that you can visit another room and feel like you're at home.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's really good, and thank you so much. I think we're gonna have to go back and watch and listen to all, because there's some really good tips and things in there and stuff that you've shared, and things that the companies can do to kind of support people as well. And it sounds like the work you're doing is fantastic, and just kind of carrying on, isn't it, and trying to adapt kind of the best way that we can.
Yeah,
brilliant.
Cool.
All right, thanks very much, Marion.
Yay. Thank you.
Thank you.
See you in Zoom.
Yeah, see you over in Zoom in a bit. Great. So our next speaker today is Tom, and Tom's the co-founder of Fearless. So some of you might know Tom. He works in recruitment, and he can share a bit more about Fearless and some of the things he's been working on. But part of the event, when we're putting it together, we kind of wanted to think about it's not just some places are really fortunate, they've got supportive teams, and then other places we're desperate for new work or trying new things, or stuff's happened which is now preventing us, and there might be disagreements or different things happening. And I know Tom's been doing some really fantastic work around helping people that are looking for new work or have had difficult situations, and so we really wanted to hear from him and share some of his thoughts. So I'm just going to add Tom in and take the screen off. So Tom, you're live, you're ready, you're here. How are you doing? You well?
Good. It's a good talk from Marion. I really enjoyed that.
Awesome. Yeah, really good tips and things to take away. So yeah, I mean, if you wanted to kick off, just kind of tell us a bit more about yourself, and then we'll get into slides or anything you have to share. Yeah.
So hey everyone, it's really good to be here. I haven't done a live webinar like this before, so I'm a little bit, I don't know who I'm talking to, so I'm just going to pretend I'm talking to the camera. So yeah, so I've been in recruitment now for about six years. In the last year, I co-founded a company called Fearless. So we're a talent consultancy which essentially acquires and assembles and builds design teams from the inside and out. So during this time, I've been creating more content and focusing on sort of calming clients down in terms of having to get rid of people and advising on like furloughing staff and how to keep designers engaged during furlough, which is really interesting. And started to see some of the dynamics in the market, like who's hiring, who's not hiring, created some content around that. So I'll share in my deck some tips around how to actually seek out who is hiring and what to do to how to find a job during COVID. There's no magic pill to it. It's tough, it's hard work, but there are people who are finding work. There are companies who are hiring. They're just onboarding people remotely. And in many industries, it's business as usual. You know, certain industries, obviously like travel, hospitality, oil and gas, which has been affected. But I feel the other industries like fintech are sort of outweighing it. So there's loads of stuff happening.
I guess so much of it is that human connection, which we touched on earlier, but we're kind of missing that. I think there's kind of different, when it must be difficult for hiring managers because you get a sense and a connection, and you're investing in a person, and depending on the role, there's kind of, I mean, the technology's there, it's great, but it's still, it's a challenging time, isn't it?
Yeah, it's tough. I think like job searching in itself is like a full-time job when you're out of work. But I feel like with, the gloom and doom of the British media and the US media doesn't really help. And then obviously just stuck indoors, and that anxiety can creep in. So like, I find that 50% of my job right now is actually just speaking to people, having human conversations and just sort of guiding them through it a little bit more than you would usually. So it's like part recruiter, part career coach,
Yeah, the coaching's a big thing at the minute, isn't it? Because everyone's got different anxieties, different things, and different bits that they're going through. So it's not kind of, I think before is probably a lot more linear and sort of straightforward, and now it's kind of, there's different conversations to be had.
Definitely, I think what the really important thing to iterate here as well is, which I'm going to talk about, is there's a lot of people going for the same roles. Right, so that you've got to try and seek out the roles which are a little bit that they're not on job boards or not on LinkedIn. And I will talk about that.
I just asked the question kind of who's in the chat if anyone's looking for a role, and Marina said yes, she's going to be looking for a role in the next month or so. Fatima's looking, Maria's looking, Catalina's just finished an MA and is looking for a position, and Matt's looking as well. So the audience you're speaking to, there's quite a few people that are actively or in the next month or so kind of about to go through this. But yeah, if you wanted to hit screen share and we can add your deck into the stream.
Yeah. I think this is right. This hopefully works. Can you see my screen?
Hasn't yet. I can add you in. Yeah, it's come up Tom's screen. So if you open up, or you can exit and then go into the Chrome tab that you want to share or anything.
Like, can you see it? Can you see my deck now? Let me just.
Yeah, if you hit present and then I'll add you. Yeah.
Can you see it?
Yeah. Yep, I've added you in. You're ready. Good to go.
I'm on the Who Am I page, so I've already done that. Okay, so there's two things I want to talk about in particular is like predictions for the job market post-COVID. But this is only my opinion, but it's based on some data that I have seen already that I've collected, which I can share after this webinar. And then the second part, I'm going to be talking about sort of how to find a job during COVID, what cool things could you do differently to what people aren't necessarily doing. And then I'll talk about an incentive that I'm running for like a minute at the end, where we're going to be creating like a candidate job board for clients to come on and find talent. So the key predictions I'm finding for the job market post-COVID is going to be less junior roles and more senior roles. That's not to say there's not going to be any junior roles, because there definitely will. But the reason why I'm thinking there's going to be more senior opportunities is because we've already started to see people looking for work at significantly reduced rates, both perm and contract. So a lot of companies are going to be out in the market and try and seek the best talent they can possibly get for the budget they've got. And if more senior people are, looking and will take a job, then there are likely to be more senior opportunities in the end. Junior roles, there's quite a lot less at the moment, because the key thing is how to onboard people remotely is cool. Like, people have got that down pat, but it's how do you actually motivate and train early stage designer remotely? That's super hard, because it's like, they need that guidance day to day usually, and that feedback, and that finding working remotely, I've found that's tend to be tricky, especially for more early stage folks. So that's probably going to be the market post COVID, but that's not to say there won't be junior opportunities. I definitely think there's going to be more of an influx of candidates. So hence why just applying for jobs on a job board or LinkedIn is probably not going to be as fruitful as it has been in the past. And definitely networking will be a bigger part of finding a job. I always say, even before COVID, finding a job sometimes isn't what you know, it's who you know. And you should always be networking. It should be like an evolving thing, day in, day out. So how to find a job during COVID? My thoughts are, so like, define expectations. So it could be like, what makes you unique when you're actually applying for a job? Are you tailoring your job application? Could you create a video and start to see and get to the hiring manager and get an idea of what your communication skills are like? Could you send a voice note message for them to understand, how you speak and how you could sell in yourself? Because essentially, like in a lot of UX roles, it's about selling your work. It's about evangelizing design to senior stakeholders to get that buy-in, to maybe get some more, budget research. So now, when you're selling yourself, you're in a sales job. So if you can sell yourself well and sell your skills well via video or via voice note, then they can start to get an understanding of how you'll be with their stakeholders or during the interview process. Definitely, the other thing as well is that you can't sit back and can't relax. So every day you should be trying to make shit happen. So that could be not just focusing on applying on job boards. So you got to think of it like as a funnel. Like say you've got like a sales funnel here. So you've got job boards and you need something to swirl around at the top, and then something's going to drop out, and that's going to be your job. You need to be hitting everything from multiple angles. So that could be applying on job boards like Indeed, Angel Code, LinkedIn. It can be actually connecting with hiring managers on LinkedIn. So for example, say you want to work at, Deliveroo. Or Deliveroo is probably not the best example right now. Maybe let's go to Accenture because Marion, and you typed in Accenture and head of UX or creative director. All the people who hire for their teams will come up. So you could connect with them. I'd also advise connecting with corporate recruiters. So that's people who are contracted by companies specifically or in perm roles to find them talent in all these companies. And also joining online communities as well. So that could be Slack groups. There's a heap of Slack groups out there these days. And yeah, like I said, it's not what you know, it's more who you know. I also advise reaching out to peers and other designers for like Zoom coffees, and just start to get your motivation high, and start to see what they're doing, who they're applying for. Can they recommend anyone to you? I think when a lot of people are looking for roles, they tend to ask recruiters to critique their portfolio. I actually advise against this. Like I'm really uncomfortable looking at and critiquing portfolios, because I just find that I don't know the ins and the outs of what you do and how that's going to relate to companies in the future. So I would actually ask designers to critique your portfolio over a Zoom coffee or on a Slack group, because they know the ins and the outs of your industry. The recruiters are just on net with their clients. So if a recruiter said to you, please, can you change, your portfolio for the third and the fourth case study, that could actually go against you in a future application. So I'd be really careful who you get to critique your portfolio. But I think it's very important to be having network calls day in, day out with people. And also, don't be afraid to just ask for help. I think that's super important at the moment. Everyone seems to be like one of the reasons why I love the design community is because everyone is super engaging. Everyone really wants to help. So just don't be afraid to reach out. I would look at it like a sales job, right? So you're the product and you're going out to sell yourself. Give yourself some KPIs. So I need to reach out to a certain amount of companies per week. I need to have a certain amount of networking chats, and then you'll be really surprised what you come up with. So a little incentive that I'm running at the moment is I have a Slack group called the Fearless Community now, which is over 7,000 designers around the world. And day in, day out, we've got people posting about their advice on working remotely or getting buy-in from stakeholders during this situation. We're going to be creating a job board. There's every day there's 2 or 3 opportunities coming up for jobs. So what I'm going to do is I'll send a link around after this webinar, or I don't know how we'll do that, but on an email, and I'll invite you all to join. So if you're stuck for whatever reason, feel free to join the community and speak to these designers. But I think the key thing is, and something that I'll take away from this really mini talk, is it's not what you know, it's who you know in this situation.
Yeah, definitely. With the link, send it to me, and I'll include it in a message out to everyone with the details. And something I just wanted to ask about. We've had a few questions come in, and I just wanted to kick off with. You say it's more about the sales job and selling yourself, and I wonder if there's something about kind of confidence and people having to become a lot more confident in their abilities and their portfolio and really kind of putting themselves out there before, if I guess that's part of your job, kind of representing people and pushing things, but I don't know if there's something around people having a lot more confidence, and especially if there's less roles and less opportunities, you really kind of need that self-confidence and that ability in communicating your talents.
Yeah, so that's a really good point. And I think especially now when you're looking at jobs and you're seeing 700 applications for a role that you're like, I love that role, it can make you quite disheartened. How the hell am I going to stand out amongst these 700 designers? But 697 of them are probably not relevant, not right. But yeah, in terms of my advice there, everyone is unique. Everyone has their different skill sets. Everyone has a different personality that could be a better fit for certain companies. So I actually, and I wrote a post like this the other day, don't compare yourself to other designers. Don't compare yourself to other practitioners in the field, because you have a really unique skill set and personality that you can bring to different clients. And not everyone's going to like you, not everyone's going to want to hire you, but there are people out there who will love to hire you, and it's just finding those people. But in terms of confidence, I think you've just got to, before coming to the market, to make sure you're fully confident in your portfolios, your CVs, polished. You know exactly what you want, or you can speak to a recruiter or career coach to find out what path is best for you if you're not quite sure. But I would do that thinking. I think the benefit of the whole situation, there is one benefit. You have more time alone. You have more time to self-reflect. So that's where you should be asking these difficult conversations, like, what do you want in your next move? Do you want to have more of the same, and what does the new you look like? I think those are questions only you can answer.
I think that's really, really interesting. And I think even someone asking those questions make people start thinking, what is it that I want? So it's just so great to voice that out loud and to start thinking about it all.
Every day I'm journaling, right? So it's like, okay, what do I want? How am I going to help people? Who am I going to speak to today? Like all these questions are like self-reflection, self-awareness. I think that's really something I'm really working on. And I'm probably about 2% self-aware, but it's something that I'm now I'm self-aware that I'm not self-aware, and it's something I'm working on. And I only think it will help people when they're looking for work. It will help you align to the company's values. What do you value in yourself?
Absolutely. I think that's so important. We could probably have a whole session just on self-awareness. I wanted to move on to some of the questions that we got through, so just about 3 or 4. So first of all, from Ute asking, do you think there's going to be more freelance opportunities or, of course, kind of remote jobs that will be coming up? So do you see kind of a change in the nature of some of the roles?
I mean, remote jobs, absolutely. A lot of companies now are looking to move permanently remote, even small companies, but obviously Twitter just announced they can be permanently remote. So 100%. I think there's a lot of companies who still need to get their heads around and be in that remote first mindset. There's still a lot of companies who are office first. So it's a mindset shift. And I still think that's actually going to take a couple of years. I think the balance is with both part in office. Because I find remote jobs are probably more beneficial to people who are maybe who are more introverted, who, actually their energy is drained going into the office, even though they're great at their job. So people who are naturally introverts so do better remotely anyway. In terms of freelance, so something that I picked up on in Marion's talk about is there more work for consultancies? From my understanding, there's absolutely more work for agencies, consultants out there. So that means they're hiring more freelancers. And the reason why is because a lot of companies have hiring freezes right now, but they still have budget to use and they still need to get work done. They're not just going to stop projects because of COVID. Some companies will, but they are on a hiring freeze because they're not sure what's going to happen in 3, 6, 9, 12 months, but they still need to get this stream of work done. So yeah, there's a lot of freelancers being utilized in that sense. So my advice, if you're looking for freelance work at the moment, there's a ton of agencies out there which will be looking for freelancers. But again, freelance work, not necessarily on job boards or LinkedIn, it's who you know, especially in the freelance world.
It's really interesting. And the next bit I want to go on to, there's a question from Charlotte, and she mentioned earlier that you've met before, and culture. So just to add that in there as well, so someone that you know. And she asked if there's an easy way to find out who a company uses as a corporate recruiter.
So what I meant by corporate recruiter is like in-house recruiter. So I would just look on LinkedIn and find So for example, go on LinkedIn, say you're on Wayfair. Type in Wayfair and talent, and you'll find out who their head of talent is, who their recruiters are. In terms of agency recruiters, tends to be that they don't actually like to disclose who their clients are, which is bizarre. But there's like a mixture in between companies that are doing like talent consultancy, which go on site at certain companies, but then they have like their agency there in the background, and those are the companies which share who they're working with. So that let me send a few links in this. Can I send it in the live comments?
You can send it to me in the private chat and I can post it, I think.
Yeah,
I've got the access. So yeah, anything you want to, you can message me, or we'll do a summary afterwards, and you can put put everything on there. So recruiters are a bit of a minefield, and I think there's a new breed of agencies and talent consultants coming in where they're like an agency, but they go on site and they're like, say, okay, like for me, I have a client called Fantasy and Zalando in Berlin, where I was on site with that company. So you know who I'm representing, but I don't necessarily work for them, similar to a design agency and what they do. But there are still those some agency recruiters who just purely won't tell you who the company is unless you're relevant, which is super annoying.
But I think a lot of companies are moving away from that type of recruitment anyway. That sort of no win, no fee kind of recruitment is kind of old school, and I think it's dying out slightly, which is only good. It's only going to enhance the candidate experience, the CX recruitment.
Yeah, absolutely. I find that it's very untransparent when they kind of close, and there's some recruiters, they'll only speak to you on the phone, they'll only tell you so much, and you just feel, you don't feel invested or encouraged, and especially if they're trying to move you from one place to another, you kind of want to know, what's the incentive for me. So
you can't throw yourself in the best light, so that means they might think you're irrelevant for the role, but actually you might be relevant, which again, it goes back to they actually could be harming your career. It's super. I actually think, I'm really passionate about this. Recruitment and talent is like one of the most important roles in a company, and it's baffling how some companies still use these recruiters. It's really interesting.
Absolutely. So another question we had come through was about any particular advice for those starting out. So, for example, students that are about to finish or entering into the job market, because you touched on that it's going to be more competitive. So is there anything you'd advise you'd kind of give now? Is it around portfolio development, or trying to get experience reaching out to people in the community to try and start networking? Or any tips?
There's two. I think there's two types of early stage designers. I don't really like to call people juniors. I think it's a nice term. So I like to call like early stage or entry level. So there's two distinct type of portfolios that I see a lot. There's one which will come out of General Assembly or a boot camp of the like, and they'll have just their or school, and they'll just have their university work or their boot camp work. And then there's another section where they'll have more work and portfolio examples of them supporting seniors and leads in the company. So they've actually got some commercial experience. I think those are the ones which will probably benefit the most. But what I would say is, if you've got any relevant experience before you got into UX or design, utilize that. So for example, if you came from a UI background, could you go and get a visual product design role where you can morph into UX over time, like a finance background where you could go into a fintech because you've got that domain knowledge and you're probably more relevant to them anyway. Again, it's who you know. Even more so, you've got to be absolutely hounding LinkedIn, messaging people, getting your story out there, creating content, joining Slack groups. And at first, it's going to be, there's no magic pill. It's going to be tough. It's going to be hard, but it's doable. It's very doable. And also start to think about moving, because now we're going into a remote thing. Could you contract or do some freelance for companies outside of the UK? I found that a lot of people have got some good success from actually moving, well, when we could actually leave the country, moving to places like Dubai or Berlin or random cities like Valencia in Spain, where design isn't as, say, ignoring Berlin, but design isn't super advanced like it is here in London. So you're actually going as an early stage from London, you're probably like a mid there. So you get that really deep exposure straight away. So start thinking like outside of the major cities, because there's some really interesting companies who can't get that talent, but they still need that talent, where you can come in and be like, hey, I can solve your problems. Instead of thinking about joining a company and being that early stage designer, I want 30K a year, I would look at it and be like, you have a problem, I can solve it, let's go. So that could open up the cards for like freelance or like a contract to perm type of engagement.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's really interesting, and there's lots of different routes, isn't there? It's not just one model. It's kind of being open to all of these different opportunities, and I think some of it, like, personally, I can get a bit reluctant or a bit shy or a bit nervous if I don't know much. So because kind of having that confidence and that ability to take a bit of a leap, there's a leap of faith, isn't there, with any kind of new role or new project, and having that confidence in yourself and ability. So yeah, I think there's definitely a lot, so much to think about. So I mean, that's the end of our questions. I don't know if you had anything final to kind of any points that you wanted to make, Tom, before we wrap up the live stream.
No, just a really quick point. Again, I'm going to reiterate the point I made earlier, and I think this is like, I want people to go away and think about this. It's not what you know, it's who you know, especially in these times. It's who you know. Just start to think, okay, who have I worked with in the past, or who could I speak to and ask for an introduction to someone? There's a lot of people that are happy to make introductions to people. Just don't be afraid to ask for help. Really don't.
Absolutely. I've seen a lot of people giving their time. Yeah, a lot of people have wanted to give their time and give advice during this period where they just want to, you know, they're at home and they want to give advice. So I think that's really key, is just not being afraid, because I remember reaching out to people on LinkedIn before, you don't know them. So, should I send a request? Is this a bit? But actually, you know, people are very happy and sometimes really interested to hear from you. So.
Quick one though, always send a message when you connect with them, right? So like tailor a message to them. Don't just connect to people. The success rate of that is not high. So always tailor a message. But honestly, designers are so nice. Everyone just wants to help.
Oh, that's really nice. All right, we'll wrap up the stream. Thanks so much, Tom. And then so we're heading over to Zoom, so hopefully you've got the link and details in your email. And then if you want to join us, we'll switch on our cameras and microphones and just have a chat, so we can you know, talk a bit more directly over there. So yeah, thanks very much, Tom, and we'll see you over on Zoom in a couple of minutes.
Thanks everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you.